Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jang. Here's a preview of some of the stories we've got ready for you today. Half of the new houses in the state are being faced with lawsuits. An expert explains why so many cases are coming up and how it's affecting the real estate market. And a major airline operator is closing its base of operations in the Bay Area. We'll hear what the employees are facing and trying to do about it. A report released this year found that nearly half of California homes faced litigation. One attorney in Southern California says the state regulations and mandates have impacted both new housing and their prices in the state.
Approximately half of all development projects built in 2022 in California face lawsuits from the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. According to a report from the Center for Jobs and the Economy, anti-housing CEQA lawsuits filed in 2020 challenged nearly 50% of California's annual housing production. Larry Salzman, director of litigation at Pacific Legal Foundation, told California insider Siamak Karami the laws around building houses have become complicated and led to a crisis.
California is really ground zero, I think, for the affordability crisis for housing. It's so much worse in California than it is in most places in America, and a primary cause is the legal problems you have in just trying to build anything.
The report, released in August, finds that California built on average around 111,000 homes per year for the past 6 years, which is only 1/3 of the governor's housing goals. 48,000 housing units were targeted with lawsuits in 2020.
And the CEQA law allows just about any third party, environmental groups, neighbors who don't want to see something new built in their area, don't want the neighborhood to change, unions who would like to stop your project unless it's built with union labor. They'll just sue under CEQA and say, we don't think your environmental report is adequate, go redo it, or we're going to challenge elements of it, or we're going to block your permits. And that triggers what is often years and hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars in litigation before you can actually get a permit to build those homes.
He added that people have abused the CEQA law to prevent property from being built at the expense of people who can't afford homes.
I think most people like the home they live in and they don't want to see their neighborhood changed. I can understand that. But when you talk to people a little more in depth about, well, look, you have friends who've moved out of state. You have older people, your grandchildren have moved out of state to pursue other jobs because they can live an independent life in another state. They're not spending 50% of their income on housing.
He's calling for greater freedom of land use that's keeping millions of acres of land off the table.
Housing costs will go down if we build more of it, and we're not building more of it because the regulation exists. So let's work together to simplify land use regulations everywhere in California where they can't be eliminated, and we'll see much more housing and lower prices.
In 2023, housing production in California is expected to drop due to inflation and interest rate hikes.
A petition to keep American Airlines flight attendants at San Francisco International Airport has been circulating since September. It started after the airline notified employees it would close and they would have to relocate or leave the company.
American Airlines emailed its flight attendants working at SFO on September 14th that it would be shutting down its San Francisco base. Business Insider reported that by the end of January, about 400 employees would have to relocate and leave California or leave the airline. Christian Torres, a college student, started this petition because his father has worked for American Airlines as a flight attendant for over 25 years. In his petition, if his father transferred, he would have to fly back and forth between his work base and home every 2 weeks, dividing the family. It continued, shutting down the base at SFO will displace 403 flight attendants and their families, being forced to either quit, retire, or transfer to a base that is located outside California, since LAX is overstaffed. Some have been with the airline for over 30 years. One petition signer commented, "I have family, friends, my community, and my home established here. Also, my 403 SFO coworkers are family to me. We are some of the most dedicated employees who have sacrificed to keep American Airlines running through the COVID pandemic. The flights are full. We work hard. Please keep SFO open." Those signing are calling on state officials to reverse the airline's decision. The petition has over 51,000 signatures as of Monday. In a statement to NTD, American Airlines said their network and schedule have evolved, shifting fleet size and customer demand. Therefore, there are no plans to grow San Francisco and no future flying prospects based on our current network strategy. Because of that, we've made the difficult decision to close our San Francisco flight attendant base. The airline will work with flight attendants to ensure a smooth transition to their new base.
The Los Angeles Police Department has issued a search warrant to Reddit. Authorities are trying to identify the person responsible for a recent leak of a private conversation between Los Angeles City Council members.
On November 29th, the Los Angeles Police Department issued a search warrant to the popular public forum Reddit. Authorities say they are trying to identify the person who leaked a racially disparaging conversation between former Los Angeles City Council President Nury Martinez and other local officials. The LAPD told the Epoch Times that the department, quote, opened an investigation into the leaked recording involving multiple city council members to determine the origin of the recording. According to Police Chief Michael Moore, the LAPD has been looking into whether the October 2021 audio recording was produced illegally. Under California law, private conversations cannot be recorded unless all parties agree. The audio was recorded at a Los Angeles County Federation of Labor's office and posted to Reddit this October. Currently, it is unclear who recorded the conversation. Besides Martinez, Los Angeles County Federation of Labor President Ron Herrera and Councilmen Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon could be heard in the conversation saying racially charged remarks about a fellow councilor and other ethnic groups. The recording surfaced, but was removed shortly after, just weeks before the November 8th election. Herrera resigned from his position the next day, followed by Martinez a few days later. Since the leak, protesters have disrupted city council meetings, calling for Cedillo and De Leon to resign.
For the first time in over 3 decades, the U.S. Air Force announced a new bomber. The new stealth bomber is named in honor of the airmen who served in World War II. Let's take a look.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin visited Palmdale, California on Friday to help unveil the Pentagon's new B-21 stealth bomber. The B-21 Raider is named in honor of the airmen who carried out the surprise Doolittle raid during World War II.
The B-21 Raider is the first strategic bomber in more than 3 decades. It is a testament to America's enduring advantages in ingenuity and innovation. And it's proof of the department's long-term commitment to building advanced capabilities that will fortify America's ability to deter aggression today and into the future.
Aerospace and defense company Northrop Grumman built the 6th-generation aircraft. The B-21 can carry both nuclear and conventional weapons. This is the first time in over 30 years that a new U.S. bomber has been publicly shown. The previous unveiling of the B-2 Spirit was in 1988. Each aircraft costs around $692 million. This includes training materials, support equipment, and other components.
So as the United States continues to innovate, this bomber will be able to defend our country with new weapons that haven't even been invented yet. And the B-21 is multifunctional. It can handle anything from gathering intel to battle management to integrating with our allies and partners. And it will work seamlessly across domains and theaters and across the joint force. And so that makes it vital to our mission to defend America and to deter aggression.
The Air Force plans on buying at least 100 B-21 stealth bombers. The release of the new bomber comes amid tensions between the U.S. and both China and Russia.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at all of the great stories we've got ready for you when we come back. The state college system is considering whether to require 4 total years of math and science for applicants, but recent signals suggest they plan to keep things the way they are at the current required number. And a Northern California zoo has adopted a rare kind of pig-like animal. We'll hear from the caretaker on what it means to house and protect an endangered species. That and more on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm Daniel Hall. Certain state universities may continue with their current admission requirements for math and science, rather than accept a proposal that would add another year for high school students. That's after the board signaled that they would not adopt the proposal. The California State University Board of Trustees signaled last month that after 6 years of deliberation, they will not adopt a proposal that would change admission requirements. Those changes would be add another year of required math and science for high school applicants. Currently, the CSU system requires 3 years, and if the board adopts the proposal, it would become 4. But in a November letter, CSU officials called on the board to reject the proposal, citing that almost all CSU applicants already take 4 years of math and science. Officials also cited learning gaps. Test scores from California's Smarter Balanced Assessment showed that 2/3 of students did not meet math standards. Officials blamed COVID lockdowns. The proposal to require 4 years of math and science was introduced in 2016. The goal was to raise academic standards and boost graduation rates. The Board of Trustees will make a final decision in January. If approved, it would not go into effect until fall 2027. A recent bus crash near San Francisco sent 4 people to the hospital. Aerial footage shows multiple damaged cars in a parking lot.
A city bus crashed into a group of cars in a Target parking lot in Daly City, a suburb of San Francisco, on Friday. Samtrans bus officials said the crash happened around 11:50 a.m. in the Serramonte Center parking lot. It involved 16 vehicles. At least 4 people were injured, with 1 in critical condition. Amidst the damaged cars, the bus also had a red shopping cart smashed under its front end. KGO television reported that the bus driver told authorities his brakes failed.
The Oakland Police Department said they once again sent additional manpower on the streets this past weekend. This was after a large crowd gathered at an illegal sideshow on Saturday.
Oakland Police Department said they had additional resources on the streets for enforcement of illegal sideshow activity. KRON 4 reported that police were called to the scene of a sideshow in a residential area of Oakland around 2 a.m. on Saturday, as seen from a Citizen app video. Callers reported sounds of gunshots, along with several vehicles and spectators blocking the roadway near the 3100 block of Harrison Street. When officers arrived, they saw multiple vehicles and people leave the area. Officers did not locate any victims. OPD said, quote, "Violent, disruptive, and illegal behavior will not be tolerated. Officers will take enforcement action by issuing citations, making arrests, and towing vehicles. Towed vehicles will be seized with a 30-day hold." OPD is asking for tips about illegal sideshows at their non-emergency email, sideshowtips@oaklandca.gov.
There's new endangered animals at a Northern California zoo. While they look very similar to pigs, scientists don't classify them in the same family. They were also once thought to be extinct. So, according to the zoo, getting to house them is a big deal. NTD's David Lamb hears from the zookeeper.
One zoo in Silicon Valley is making 4 endangered animals feel at home. These are Chacoan peccaries, native to the brushlands of Central South America, and approximately 3,000 of these peccaries remain in the world. Veteran zookeeper Heather Verzel with the Happy Hollow Park and Zoo said they wanted to make space for animals that really needed it.
There's 4 males. They're young. They're 2.5 and 1.5. And they look like pigs, but they're not pigs. They're in the same family, but a different genus.
Chacoan peccaries, also known as tagua in Paraguay, were once thought to be extinct and were only known by fossil remains. In 1975, living species were found in South America. Their habitat is the savanna plains, marshes, and thorn forests.
They are an endangered species. They come from Bolivia, Argentina, and Paraguay. They root in the dirt. They have, very strong snouts. They dig in the dirt to find the food. Food's a little bit easier here at the zoo. We don't make it too difficult for them to find it.
They have an average lifespan of 9 years in the wild and can weigh up to nearly 100 pounds. There are currently 3 species of peccary, and according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, they're at risk of decline due to habitat loss and overhunting.
The things that we're doing to the natural places in the world are making smaller and smaller spaces for the wild animals to live, and it's happened with the peccaries as well as many other different species.
Virgil has been in the zoo industry for 40 years, and 33 of those years have been at Happy Hollow.
I came from an Air Force family, so we weren't always able to have pets. So then I just kind of grew up and wanted to be around them all of the time. I'm fascinated by them, fascinated by their behavior, their adaptations, how they work in the world.
Rain or shine, the weather doesn't change the zookeeper's duties as she tidies up the pen and trains the little guys. The zoo worked with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Species Survival Plan, which coordinates animals nationwide for breeding to preserve endangered animals. These peccaries were transferred from a Southern California zoo.
I was very excited. We've been waiting a long time for these guys. With everything everybody's been through over the last few years and delays on shipments, and we've had problems getting animals because of airline and weather. It was a long time coming, and we're very, very excited.
It's common practice for zookeepers to wear protective gear when working with new animals during a quarantine period. Here, it's 30 days. Caitlin O'Hara, Conservation and Communications Manager at the zoo, said a challenge with acclimating animals is the initial part, welcoming them to their new habitat. And each week, the zoo enriches the living space through introducing new elements, for instance, sounds through radio, visuals, and scent, such as surprising them with sheep wool. This is to encourage natural behaviors and keep them mentally engaged. The nonprofit Happy Hollow Foundation partnered with the local zoo to renovate this new space for the animals. The spot was previously home to another peccary who is now in her golden years. An annual pass holder and his son have been waiting.
Seen the exhibit get built out and revamped, because before it was really hard to find the one peccary that was just hiding in the hut all the time usually. And when you see it, like, oh, we saw it. So today, this is amazing. I did not expect them just to be roaming around and chowing down, but there's also not a lot of screaming kids here, so.
The 16-acre zoo is home to 60 different animal species and over 130 animals. Virgil says the more she learns about nature, the more it amazes her.
I just love kind of immersing my whole life in it and being able to teach other people about the world that we live in and how we need to protect it and we need to take care of it and why.
Support the zoo, support your local coffee shops. Yeah, support animals, man.
Happy Hollow Zoo is not currently breeding the peccaries, but may in the future with their new space. Now, the peccaries haven't been given names yet, but the zookeepers did suggest a list of names, and the zoo staff would then decide to vote on them, hopefully in a few weeks. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Now let's send it over to NTD's Thomas Christian for your sports roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
The United States exited the World Cup with a round of 16 loss to the Netherlands on Saturday, but looking towards the 2026 horizon, a bright future is rising for the young Americans. While a 3-1 humbling at the hands of the Dutch was not the way the United States wanted to exit, the big picture assessment is mission accomplished, as head coach Greg Berhalter's young squad received a World Cup baptism that is sure to pay dividends in 2026. Berhalter opted for youth this tournament, fielding a lineup with an average age of 25, the second youngest of the 32 nations assembled in Qatar after Ghana. When the next World Cup rolls around on home turf, players like 19-year-old Yunus Musa, 22-year-olds Timothy Weah and Serginho Dest, and 23-year-old Tyler Adams, the youngest captain at this year's tournament, will all be approaching their primes. The U.S. may have also uncovered the marquee name American fans can attach themselves to over the next 4 years, in Chelsea's 24-year-old attacking midfielder Christian Pulisic, who established his star credentials in Qatar. Pulisic scored or assisted on all 3 goals the US scored during the tournament, and now the onus will be on his youthful teammates to mature into more well-rounded players. The loss to the Netherlands underscored the hard work ahead if the Americans plan to venture beyond the round of 16 in 2026. But at least they head home believing they have a jump on their co-hosts Mexico and Canada, who both were dumped in the group stage. The bulk of games in 2026 will be played in the United States, and the American results in Qatar offer promise that they will be meaningful contests beyond the last 16. Rookie quarterback Brock Purdy came to the rescue in his first extended NFL action, passing for 210 yards and 2 touchdowns to push San Francisco's winning streak to 5 games with a victory over Miami in Santa Clara, California. Purdy, who was 25 of 37 with an interception and 2 touchdown passes, took over in the first quarter for an injured Jimmy Garoppolo and delivered a touchdown on his first drive. The 49ers defense added 3 interceptions and a fumble return for a score by Dre Greenlaw, all in the second half. Christian McCaffrey caught 8 passes for 80 yards and a touchdown for the Niners, while also rushing for 66 on 17 carries. Garoppolo will miss the remainder of the season with a broken foot. 49ers 33, Dolphins 17. Geno Smith threw 3 touchdown passes, including an 8-yarder to DK Metcalf with 36 seconds remaining as Seattle defeated Los Angeles. Smith completed 28 of his 39 passes for 367 yards as the Seahawks snapped the 2-game losing streak. Tyler Lockett made 9 receptions for 128 yards and a touchdown, and Metcalf had 8 catches for 127 yards. Cam Akers rushed for 2 touchdowns for the injury-plagued Rams, who suffered their 6th consecutive defeat. Akers' second touchdown from 6 yards gave the Rams a 23-20 lead with 2 minutes and 56 seconds left. Seahawks 27, Rams 23. Derek Carr and Devontae Adams connected on 2 long scoring passes in the third quarter to help Las Vegas rally for a win against the visiting Chargers. Adams caught 8 passes for 177 yards and 2 third-quarter touchdowns. Carr completed 16 of 30 passes for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception for the Raiders. Justin Herbert completed 28 of 47 passes for 335 yards and a touchdown for LA. After the loss, the Chargers now fall to 6-6, with their hopes of a playoff berth suddenly on thin ice. Raiders 27, Chargers 20.
And that's all for sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd love for you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcast on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Daniel Hall, sitting in for Lang Jang. Have a wonderful evening.